Welcome back. We're with Mr. Sam Gordy, President of Integrated Systems Group at Leidos, and Mr. Rob Zitz, Senior Vice President and Chief Systems Architect at Leidos. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me again.
Thank you.
Cybersecurity is a complex area, very complex area, and there are many stakeholders, states, local, federal, tribal. Can you speak to some insight into that?
Sure. The internet is pervasive, it's ubiquitous. Things are connected. That's good. It's good for economy, it's good for well-being of citizens, but it also leads to greater vulnerability as things are connected. So there's a complexity associated with the fact that systems and networks and data are now connected. Protecting that is complicated because it's a whole of government approach. You've got the intelligence community has a role, the military has a role, Department of Homeland Security protecting the .gov domain, and then frankly 90% of the critical infrastructure of the United States is in private hands. And so the .com portion of this is huge when you're dealing with a cybersecurity mission.
Mr. Gordy?
I think that entire domain is just going to continue to evolve. It is not going to head backwards. It's going to continue to move forward. We're moving into the Internet of Things, where every device has an IP address. Every device is connected. Again, it's convenience, it's speed, but it's also vulnerability. And every single one of those devices becomes a path through which somebody can enter into your system. You mentioned the wide range of stakeholders. As Rob said, it's everything from the federal government, intelligence community, and military, to state, local governments, on out to organizations and even educational organizations as well. All of those are connected. All of those are connected to each other, and therefore it becomes a community cyber defense that's required.
Can you speak to the role that you feel, or perhaps a unique role, that an organization like Leidos has, your obligation as maybe a key contractor in the cybersecurity sector?
I think a key element of that is that Leidos today is supporting all of those elements that I just mentioned, from the intelligence community to the military to federal government, DHS included, state, local governments, educational organizations, both here in the United States and internationally. So we are touching all of those elements from a cybersecurity perspective, in addition to working with advanced researchers here in the United States to further that cybersecurity capability across the world, really.
And another aspect of that is, as you know, Cedric, Leidos is not only national security, but it's also health and engineering. And when you look at the critical infrastructure of the United States, there are 16 segments, or 16 sectors. There are 16 sectors that make that up, including health, including energy. So we already work in many of the domains that an organization like Homeland Security is worried about. DHS has got a dual mission. It has to worry about protecting the .gov domain, but it also has to work hand in glove with those stakeholders in those 16 sectors that make up the critical infrastructure of the United States.
Mr. Gordy, obviously the whole complexity of systems is and it's been a challenge for the government over time, but seems to be improving. Can you speak to how Leidos is participating in that?
It certainly is for a challenge for the government and for industry and private consumers across the country. I think the key issue that we need to consider as we look at cybersecurity solutions is you can't walk in the door and say, here it is, I have the solution. All you have to do is use what I bring to the table, because that's simply not going to happen. All of these organizations have an element of cybersecurity today. They have systems in place, they have architectures in place. The key here that Leidos needs to bring to the table, that in order to further DHS's mission, is how do you tailor those capabilities to interact with the systems and the architectures that exist today, those legacy systems, to migrate those forward, to bring them in to the leading edge of cybersecurity, where you get into that big data analytics, that predictive analysis, without bringing to the table an extremely expensive wholesale solution that means you have to throw out all the old and start over. You have to start with what you have and migrate from there.
Yeah, could I add to that and say that an aspect of that is working with the stakeholders that exist. And so there's the government owner of the system, an operator of the system. You have, for example, in Homeland Security, there's a systems engineer and integrator. There are program management offices. There are federally funded research and development centers. There are university centers. There are a host of different players who are working with that existing architecture that Sam referred to. There's an expectation that new firms that come in will be a teammate of all of those and will not just come in and throw something over the transom. It's a partnership.
Mr. Gordy, the cyber challenges at the Department of Homeland Security are myriad and complex. Can you speak to the nature of some of the solution space?
Absolutely. Leidos has a 45-year history of working in this very complex space and bringing together uniquely tailored solutions for the unique situation in which you're faced here with cybersecurity, with the DHS having to reach across so many stakeholder elements. We are a system integrator. That is what we do, primarily on the software, primarily in the software arena. And we bring together the capability to tailor and knit together those commercially available products, or COTS, the government products, GOTS, as well as other elements coming in from educational organizations and so forth. The key, I think, that's very important to emphasize is it's not just Leidos that's bringing this to the table. We have a long history of working with other industry partners, both large companies and small. Some of the greatest innovation is coming from those small companies, those startups that are out there, and they're working cutting edge elements, and they need that pathway in order to bring their capability into the marketplace. And that is a key element that Leidos brings to the table as well.
We've been joined by Mr. Sam Gordy, President of the Integrated Systems Group at Leidos, and Mr. Robert Zitt, Senior Vice President and Chief Systems Architect at Leidos. Gentlemen, thank you very much.